Alon has joined us. If you are staying tuned to the podcast, you will get to hear 2 out of the following 4. We're going to review the Marathon Navigator. We are going to review the Atelier Wen. We are going to look at the Octo Finissimo Sketch Limited Edition watch. And for our classic Hit Miss Maybe, it's going to be the ever-breakable 5711. So if you would like to hear all of them, then go and find the Blog to Watch live channel, and you can watch a video of us playing Hit Miss Maybe on all of these. If you're remaining in the podcast, then you will shortly be hearing, and I'll prepare on this week, Ripley's random thought to close the show. So Ripley, be thinking hard about your random thought for the close of the show. So let's get on with Hit Miss Maybe. Let's find out where everybody is and what they're currently wearing. I'm in Scotland. I am wearing a Panerai. No change there then. Ripley, where are you and what are you wearing?
Well, if you can see me, you can tell by the wall, means I'm in Los Angeles, and I am wearing the Foster 11 Atmos. We've got a review of this one on the site, and these guys just restocked and came out with a new colorway, so I figured it was time to wear it. And I used the second time zone to figure out what time it is in the UK.
Ariel, where are you? What are you wearing?
Still in Los Angeles. I'm wearing the Raymond Weil Millesime. This is their 39.5 millimeters sector dial based watch that was very popular for them, and I'm writing about that, and I quite like it. It's a nice timepiece.
Cool, excellent. David, have you got a watch on, and where are you?
I'm in Budapest and back on the forum with no watch on. I just don't want to watch at home. I can't do that.
What watch is sitting on your desk?
Nothing.
No. Are there any timepieces in your house at all?
Yes, there are, but they are somewhere else.
Alon, your background has changed. Does this mean that you're somewhere different?
I'm actually in my home office today, so sorry for the spotty internet and lower resolution. So I'm in Amsterdam. Today I'm wearing the collab that we launched last week with Elka. It's very nice. Hebrew Ace Jewelers Elka collab. Second gen, the blue one sold out, so we went for da-da-da-da. What's the new blue? Green.
Green.
It's very nice.
Excellent. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
Right, well, let's start off by looking at the Marathon Navigator. Right, so hands on the Marathon Navigator. Let me get this up on the screen. And Ripley, this looks like the veins in the back of your hand. It looks like it's amazing when you recognize the back of another man's hand. That's just a bit of a weird thought. Anyway, this appears to be the back of your hand with this Marathon. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, well, Rick, you clearly know the back of my hand. Yes, that is my hand. This is the latest version of the Marathon Navigator. This is a staple in Marathon's catalog. This is the current version of it. Originally developed with Kelly Air Force Base in the 80s. It's, they now have revived the steel one as a premium option. This is the composite version, specifically the desert tan. They also do like a dark green and the black. Basically, what is new for this generation is you get a sapphire crystal, and which is the old one had like a domed acrylic. And then the case back has an easy open battery door. And then you can now also get it with a premium NATO strap as a premium option. Oh, and the crown is now steel. All of those enhancements have come with a price increase. So it is quite a bit more expensive than what we were buying Marathon Navigators for, a handful of years ago. But it is a pretty solid watch. And this is, tritium tubes on the dial and hands, of course. And this is pretty much, still something that sees active duty in parts of the world. So there is that.
Great stuff. Right, let's give it a vote. So on the count of 3, is it a hit? Is it a miss? Or is it a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Hit, maybe, maybe. Good stuff. Right, Ripley, you sounded more enthusiastic than the maybe you gave it. Why does it only get a maybe?
In a vacuum, and I say it in the piece, in a vacuum, it's a great watch, but it just seems to be getting a little bit too expensive for what it is. Now, granted, governments might have a different price for their contract orders, but for the public facing community, when we want to buy one from Marathon's site, once you start getting into that, I think it's 480 in the configuration pictured in the review. That's getting up there. Yes, you get a sapphire crystal, but it's a plastic cased quartz watch. Is it Swiss? Yes. Is it tritium? Yes. So there is that, but like at almost $500, there's that you're entering a very competitive space. So in the vacuum, it's super cool. You got to respect the heritage, but in your hand, it feels well made, but it's not like particularly refined or luxurious. The bezel's kind of stiff and asymmetric. So, if it were like half the price it was, it'd be a no-brainer. Everyone should own 2 of them. But like at this price point, you really have to start looking at whatever else $500 can buy you. And if this is particularly what you want, go for it. But if not, you might be able to get more for your money elsewhere. So that's why it's a maybe for me.
Ariel, is it a maybe for you for the same reasons it is for Ripley?
Yeah, but I want to add a few things. And I think Ripley said some accurate things where, Marathon would defend it by saying, yeah, but ours uses this, uses that. Well, then what I would say is, well, it's too well made because the competition is much cheaper. And for a cheap watch experience, you don't need all that. You already have better watches, Marathon, that go that extra step. You're trying to put that into everything you make. You have the steel version of the Navigator, which is double the price, but actually far cooler. I think this one needs to be cheaper. So I don't know. It's a tough thing because Marathon wants to have this sort of like high level across the board. But then again, they can't just have every price being in luxury territory because then they'll lose the status of that actual tool watch thing. So I think it's a difficult position for them, but I think that they need to cut costs on this to maintain its inexpensiveness because there's plenty of places for people who like Marathon to go up to.
David, you give it a hit though?
Yeah, it's a hit from me. I would love to wear this around. I think it's a great looking watch, and personally, I don't mind shelling another $100 or $200 out for something that's better made. Maybe that's just me, but it's still under $500. And if I buy something like this, I want to wear it. If I want to wear it, then I want it to feel good and feel nice. And I think it does if it's a little bit better made. So I'm all for this.
Alon?
For me, a hit. I love mil-spec watches. I love Marathon. I love these Benrus shaped styled cases. Like the color. So that's good. And it's actually very interesting what Ripley and Ariel said. And maybe if I may, I would love to have a little philosophical discussion about the perceived value of watches and pricing. Because I have been saying the last 2 years, the 1,000 bracket is today the 2,000. And we hardcore collectors, or those that are long time in the game, we've been pained by these hefty price increases. But it seems that the newer generations or the new collectors to the watch collecting game are entering a new reality where everything is higher. So when you guys say, yeah, there's a cheaper option, either Ariel said we need to go cheaper Marathon, meaning Asian production, Ariel, I assume you mean by that, and not go Swiss made route?
I couldn't answer that question for them.
Okay. So would a consumer prefer, hey, you know what, US brand, US mil spec stuff, I want it Asian made, and go down 20-30%? Or do we say, hey, what's cheaper, Faso? I wouldn't even know what to say. So for me, this is in a category of either somebody who wants Luminox or other Swiss-made, Swiss Army watches or whatever. So it's a mil-spec tool watch vibe. Or they say, I want color and a NATO strap, and I don't buy the new, I wanted to say Snoopy watch. So the Omega Speedmaster, right? The moon swatches. Or the Blancpain one. So what category does it fall in? So initially, when I started reading the article, I always love to be surprised by the price if I don't know the brand's price delta. So I was a bit surprised it's hitting the 500. But then, if I think about it, where do I put my other $500? You know what I'm saying?
I think I hear what you're saying from a brand guy perspective, but we're talking about the competitive environment for a tool watch, right? I don't want people to get this because they love the brand. I'm talking not about the enthusiast. I'm talking about your rank and file person who needs a utilitarian timepiece. I mean, a Casio will do an amazing job for $30. Okay, so I'm saying for the legitimacy of saying that this is the type of company that makes a certain type of watch, and to price it so high that it's not chosen for that purpose when there's plenty of other stuff out there. So I think the collector community likes to just disavow knowledge of brands that don't market to them. Well, the cheap side, there's tons and tons of brands out there. And if you're just looking for a tool watch, you're going to be like, wait a minute, $50 over 400? Well, I'm not going to go that much higher. And that's a very real situation that we just like prefer not to talk about.
I think what's more interesting is Alon is now proposing a differential pricing, that if you can show that you've been into watches for more than 5 years, Alon will sell you watches at the price you wanted to pay 5 years ago. But if you're new into watch collections, you pay the current going rate. I think that's a great idea. I think folk will be flocking to Amsterdam to buy all sorts of watches off you, Alon. I love that concept.
I have an anecdote for you, Rick, just to answer Ariel quickly, if I may. So I don't think they target those people that want a utility watch as low as possible. I think they segment the fashion thing. So, I want a brownish desert sand colored watch. Hey, for 500, not bad. So I think that's what they're doing right there. For you, Rick, very interesting story. Who are the toughest negotiators in the world? Question to you, Rick. And I know you're a tough negotiator.
Who are the toughest? I don't know. The Dutch are pretty tough, I have to say.
Watch buyers.
Do we mean by country or by interest?
Experienced watch buyers.
Nah, they're easy because you know what? It's all emotion. The moment it clicks and they fall in love, value doesn't matter anymore. No, so I'm talking about demographics. So you're saying bid whatever you want. So people often think either Chinese are tough to negotiate with or Indian or whatever, right? So my mom is Persian, so I've been raised with Persian culture. And I don't know if Ari, you've been to Jerusalem. The Persians in Jerusalem are the toughest negotiators because you know what they tell you when you start bidding? They say, Baba John, you pay whatever you think it's worth. So that's the most difficult thing ever because you don't want to insult them, but you don't want to overpay, right?
They make you do the opening salvo. They'll never give you a hint. They always make you start with a number. That's how they get you.
Whoever speaks first loses, and they know that. So,
Alan, I have no problem coming to your store. I have no problem, Alan, coming to your store in Amsterdam and playing that game with you. I'll quite happily come and tell you the price that I think it's worth. If you want to haggle around that price, I'm getting a flight this afternoon and clear you out of all of those nice
I think that if I go 1 day internship with you on buying spree, I get a master's degree or a PhD from you, Rick.
Anyway, back to I gave this a hit because it's brown and there's not enough brown watches in the world, and it's actually quite a nice color, and it's got tritium tubes, and there's not enough tritium tube watches in the world. So for 500 notes, I think this is all right. Great stuff. Right, next up is going to be the Bulgari. So, David, you had a hands-on with the Octo Finissimo Sketch limited edition watch.
Yes.
What does this feel like in person? I've got a suspicion that the photographs don't do this justice when you're actually looking at the thing.
Why do you say that?
Well, I just suspect that the differential between what it actually looks like and how it photographs, like you're looking at a flat surface on the photograph, but I suspect the contrast of the hand sitting above the slightly lighter sketch behind it when you see it in real life really pops in a way that's just really difficult to capture in the photos. That's not to say that your photography is rubbish. Obviously,
thank you.
Photography is amazing.
Yeah, the reason, thank you. The reason why it's not captured is because it's not there. I actually remarked when I was there. I met with Fabrizio Buonamassa, whose sketches are on the dial, and said the hands actually look like as though they were part of the drawing. It's so flat. Right. So what you're suggesting would be true for virtually any other watch, but this is so thin, the Octo Finissimo, that there's so little space between the crystal and the dial that the hands are installed very close to each other, and they are also matte. So they look as though they had like charcoal or something like that on them. So the overall effect is that they actually do blend into the sketch very much, which creates this odd effect in the sense that you're looking at a movement with hands on it. So overall it's a tricky watch to look at, to be honest. So yeah, it's an odd one for sure.
Alan, before we give Hitmiss, maybe you've got one of these sketches I've seen hiding in the back of your office. So, was this a particularly appealing watch? Do you like this? You've obviously,
So
Fabrizio
yeah,
Buonamassa well enough to have one of his sketches.
so I chose the worst day to sit in my home office. Because usually on the back of my seat are two sketches made by Fabrizio personally for both my kids. So I'm a huge fan of the Octo Finissimo. I got the titanium one when they won the world record. They broke the world record for thinnest automatic, right? I think it's the 102713. I always forget the reference numbers. So I'm utterly in love with it. I love Fabrizio. I think he's nobody ever coined who's the Gerald Genta of our age, right? Of the 10s or the 20s, but he definitely is nominated on my behalf. So I love the watch. I love his skills. We didn't vote yet, so I'll refrain from saying.
We'll
but
save it.
I'll save it. I'll shut up now. But I have
Okay.
one.
Well, let's give it a vote then. So on the count of three, Hitmiss or maybe. Go. So maybes and hits, no misses as yet. So I gave this a maybe. I was going to give it a hit, but David has persuaded me that maybe this is only a maybe because it might not be very legible, and that's quite important to me. Ripley, what did you vote?
I said it's a hit. I think it's a very interesting looking piece, and I I don't know if it's necessarily one I would buy for myself. I've got such small wrists. The Octo Finissimo doesn't quite fit me. It's the way I'd like it to, but I think it's such a fascinating piece that if I was at like a Red Bar meetup and this was like on the table there, I would 100% want to go pick one up and go check it out and like look at it under a loop and go pour it over and look at all the engravings and all of that. Like, go look at all those little weird marks that describe the different parts and that this is just an interesting piece, objectively interesting. The Octo Finissimo is a great watch, even though it doesn't fit my wrist all that great. But this is just a cool piece. It's a hit conceptually. I think it's well executed. The legibility doesn't really bother me. I'm not really concerned about if I have to look a little bit harder on a piece like this. But I think it's so interesting, and I love the juxtaposition of the Octo Finissimo and Bulgari doing really refined, nice, high-end stuff. And then this like super, super rough first draft, pencil on sketch paper, like look into the design process. And I love that like very rough conceptual concept mixed with the very refined finished product. I think these are awesome. I'd love to see one in person. And David, your photos are fantastic as well. So yeah, all around.
Thank you.
David's depressed in the corner.
I'm relieved.
Maybe suggested that it was difficult to photograph. Ariel, why did you vote?
I worry that the novelty would wear off pretty fast. I think it's a fun concept. I love Fabrizio. I love the Octo. I have nothing but good things to say about all the parties involved. But this particular thing feels like a fun thing that like they should make this watch version of it, right? Like it shouldn't be so expensive for something that I'm not sure I'm going to want to look at all the time. I wish this was like a playful thing where like this was the color of the loom, a sketch or something like that. And then the rest of the time it was like a normal dial. Again, I don't know how this would age on the wrist. I don't know if I'd want to be seeing this all the time. So from an artistic and emotional perspective, super cool. We've definitely seen watches that have done similar things with much, much lower price points. So if you're particularly well funded out there and want a novelty watch, awesome. But again, I don't know the longevity of the aesthetic of looking at that dial, for years.
David, is it more than just a novelty?
I think it's a great second or third Octo Finissimo. So you'd probably have to own one already and just have this as a tribute or as like a show of force and to show your affection to the brand and to the design and all the rest of it. it's definitely not the Octo Finissimo I would buy for myself for the reasons Aria described. It's I felt this before when I was expecting something to be like bonkers cool and amazing, and then the novelty just wore off. So it does happen, and I'm after watches that I feel like I'm going to like for years on end. So this is not one of those, but the Octo Finissimo in general, yes.
Excellent. And Alon, how did you vote in the end?
I voted maybe. I wanted the 10th anniversary, so the one that came out in 2002. So the sketch dial, the original sketch dial. I love that. But David said rightfully so. It can never compete with the first one, so it will be an additional one. So initially when I saw this picture on the blog to watch, I said, oh, cool. But then after 10 seconds, it actually is too kitschy in my humble opinion. Whereas the first one is spot on. And the idea is cool that you draw the backside of the watch, but it's a bit too much. And they did it because the first one was such a commercial hit, I guess. And the market wanted more. So I haven't had it in my hands because, as you said, you need to see it. So, but it's definitely not your first Octo.
How accurate is the picture? Like, if you were
What do
to
you
take
mean?
if you were to remove the image, is that what you would see of the movement?
In a way, yes. What's funny is that I just spotted this actually now looking at the pictures, is that under the area under the micro rotor, it's just basically brushed in a way. It does have one circle in it, but then you have a text and an arrow linking to it that says perlage. So it's striped, but it's supposed to be perlage. So there are like some liberties here and there, but overall it's pretty accurate. And what's odd is that if you turn it around, it's basically the opposite side of the things, so it's sort of a flipped way of looking at it somehow, so it's not exactly a see-through thing. So
yes,
there were decisions that had to be made, of course, but I think it's overall a cool concept and a cool execution.
Good. Oh, right. Well, if you jump to the YouTube channel, you will hear our next two reviews. If you stay here, then you'll be joining us through the magic of audio in a few seconds for saying goodbye. Okay, next up then, the Atelier Wen Perception. Is it Piao? Piao?
I don't know.
Ariel, you wrote this
Nobody
article.
knows.
I expect you to know. It's Pronunciation Academy. So anyway, I don't suppose it really matters. We can see the picture.
It is spelled in a way that is unclear how it's pronounced.
Piao.
Maybe.
Maybe. Anyway, I tell you when I've kind of not have they snuck up on everybody. They've certainly gained a lot of popularity very quickly. Ariel, just a very brief description of.
So the Perception is the second major model from the brand, and you're right. This is the one that put them on the map more. It's a steel watch with an integrated bracelet that you can remove, and they actually will be having some other materials coming in the future. It is founded by two people that are not Chinese, but they wanted to have a Chinese-made watch that was sort of themed by what they felt was some of the best of Chinese culture and architecture. So there's little hints here and there. It's nothing too overt. It has an actual hand-done guilloche dial by apparently the only person in China who can do that. It has a peacock movement. Peacock is a watchmaker in China, and they claim to do a good version of 4 hertz movement. It's comfortable to wear. It's got a pretty good clasp. Interesting overall design. Not super inexpensive. It's just over $3,000, but it's comfortable and it's fun, and I've enjoyed wearing it. Yeah, don't know what else to say. You can read the review.
Good stuff. Right, let's give it a vote. A hit, a miss, or a maybe. 1, 2, 3, go. Hit, miss, maybe, hit. Okay, Ripley, why is it a hit?
I got to briefly check this one out when Ara was wearing it, and it's a cool piece. It's a cool piece. I like that it embraces the China aspect. It's almost, in many, at least in the United States, made in China, or, anything as far as Chinese manufacturing, the brands often try to conceal any relation to China as much as possible. So I kind of like that it puts it front and center. It's a cool piece. It's well executed. It's nice looking. There's certain design cues that I feel like are shared with other models, certainly, but I also feel like it's more unique than a lot of other integrated bracelet watches. So I think all in all, it's a good looking piece, and I'm not sure why the Chinese movement manufacturers love naming they're all like bird names, like seagull, peacock, what have you. But it's I think it's a cool piece. You know what? There's very little not to like about it if you think the design's cool. So I like it.
Good stuff, Ariel.
For me, it's a hit because it's comfortable. It's nice looking. It sort of has the right mixture of flashy and what is that shape, even though it looks familiar. The bracelet's not that original, but it's nicely made. The case is where the originality is. I would have preferred a Swiss movement, but I get the theme. I agree with some of the major complaints about the price being a bit on the ambitious side, but I think that they did a nice job here. I like the first watch that they did that I reviewed that was very, very different in a lot of ways, but also still nice. And I love the strange sort of dichotomy between the fact that this is an Asian focused brand run by people who themselves have worked obviously in Asia, but themselves, it's not their background. And so I like that because you actually have the exact opposite. We have a lot of brands in Asia that look like they're European brands and are not. So I think it's kind of fun that it's sort of an interesting juxtaposition, really. So that's why I thought it was a hit.
David?
It's a maybe for me. I love the dial. What a beautiful dial. It's just fantastic. But the rest is just a bit too chunky for me. I don't imagine it to be, terribly comfortable. And it's just somehow the proportions of the case are just off to me. But yeah, but the dial is just wonderful, and the hands are too.
Yeah, I think that was enough for it to miss that crown.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. It needs something different. It needs, I don't know if it needs to be in a different place or a different size or a different material or something, but the crown just looks really, really horrible in comparison to the rest of the watch. It looks like the ones that were available in a drawer somewhere. I just don't like it at all. The rest of the watch looks lovely, but I tipped it into a miss for me. Alon, how did you vote? No audio, Alon.
He's just giving a lot of thumbs up.
Alan says it was a hit. And we will imagine the reasons for why it was a hit until we can see if he can sort his audio out. Anyway, we will move on to our final, and this is a classic hit miss maybe. And this is the 5711 from Patek Philippe. If you search 5711 on a blog to watch, you get approximately 6 pages worth of mentions in and around direct articles and others. But imagine it's 1967? Something like that?
76, but 76, but that was the Nautilus. But that was the Nautilus. That was not the 5711.
Right, okay. So 5711 was when?
The 90s, I'm guessing.
Well, I thought, the original Jumbo, is that not what you would think of as the original 5711 would be the Jumbo?
No, the Jumbo just describes the 39 mil, or the 40 mil or whatever it is. That just describes the size, but the original model wasn't the 5711. Yes. Yeah, but yeah, right, that was what, the 3700 or whatever. It's a time only. This is
the 3700. The 3700 Jumbo, which was 76 till the 90s. But we all know what we're talking about. So the 5711, that Patek thing that they advertised as being, this is a great steel watch that you should pay lots of money for. Whenever it first came across your desk, whenever it first came across your internet or your Instagram, knowing what else had come before it, would you have thought of this yourself as a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Maybe, hit. Well, this is one of our lower scoring classics. Ripley, why is it a hit?
So I have to be honest. it was I loved the 5711 when I first saw it. I thought it was like I loved the Nautilus itself when I first saw it. I thought it was like a more refined version of the Royal Oak. It's like if you told Genta he had longer than a week or overnight to perfect his design, he might have like polished it up a little bit, hide the screws or something. I loved the Nautilus when I first saw it. I thought the 5711 was super cool. As a more modern version, I mean, that was around. That was literally the version that I saw during my lifetime. I don't like the watch anymore. I'm so tired of it, and like it just became this whole thing. And then they did the Tiffany dial. Like I'm just so over the 5711, and I like now I've kind of come around to it. But I have to be honest. When I first saw the Nautilus, and then again when I saw the 5711, I liked it. So I guess it's a hit for me.
Ariel?
Oh, I started my
Oy vey,
relationship
oy vey.
with this watch long before the popularity period, so I was able to form an opinion before it was a hot watch. I guess I always respected it, but I never thought it was particularly pretty. And I've worn it for an extended period of time, and I liked the comfort. I love how thin it is. I think it's legible, so it does do a lot of things right. I've always been more of a Royal Oak fan. You had this sort of these sort of like the competing Genta designs. I think that its popularity has been misunderstood, and there's very practical reasons why it's popular. Because like a bunch of people that were like younger were like, yeah, Patek's hot, but I don't want to wear anything they have. What else? What do you have that can put stones in? Oh, okay. And so like the reason it became popular wasn't for like very good reasons. And then it going way crazy popular. And again, it took Patek what 15, 16 years to stop making this freaking model before they introduced the 5811, which no one's actually seen yet. Right. So I just the mythology around this is something that I hope people will make fun of in the future. It's a very competent watch, but the prices they ask for it, it's insane. It's like charging, exotic Pajani money for what's essentially like, a Mercedes E-Class. Like it's not that big of a deal. It's not that great. It's fine. So I think that there's so much hype around it that it's made an already, I don't know, mediocre luxury sports watch like just weirder.
So hit, miss, maybe, and fine is our new
It's a
category.
maybe because it's competent, and if you like it, there's something wrong with you. But like, it does not deserve, from my expert opinion, the mythology around it. It just doesn't.
Yeah. I think that's why. It's. I can't even remember how I voted. Did I vote miss or maybe? I think I voted
You were maybe
miss.
like me.
Was I maybe in that it's gone? It's got worse as time has gone on. as everything that gathers, it's like a rolling stone gathers no moss, but this gathers moss.
I first
This
saw
is the
these
barnacle on the bottom of your boat, of your
for
billion-dollar
sale at
boat.
like 50-60% off retail in like Hong Kong. That's like the first time I saw a lot of these watches. There was no hype around them. David remembers they were sitting in the box. You go in there. Nobody really wanted these things. They were like whatever.
David?
Yeah, they certainly were not $50,000 or 60 or 100 or 120,000 or whatever. It's overhyped. I voted a maybe because I tried to imagine being back there in 1976 and how Me Too it might have felt after the Royal Oak 4 years after that and the year after the Laureato and all the rest of them, right? So it's I think it might have had a bit of a Me Too vibe to it. And I'm also not sure how well I could have predicted the nonsense that this watch would turn into. Had I had like a hunch for that, then it would have been a miss easy. Overall, I like that it's thin, it's robust looking. It's a decent watch. As Ari was saying, it's a great E-Class.
Great E-Class. Alan,
Yes.
taking this E-Class for a drive?
I actually had one, bought it over 20 years ago, gave it to my dad. As I said in the previous episode, so if the question is, would you've liked it when it came out? I like both the Royal Oak and the Nautilus. I guess the Royal Oak is more out there. The Nautilus is a more civilized version, toned down, slimmer. Very weird with the port-looking case. I always loved it. I love what Ripley said, that evolution of liking and disliking. I feel you, brother. I had the same. And as Ariel said, is a lot of people want Patek because of the name, but because there wasn't any other sports model on a steel bracelet, they just bought that. So, if I may, another philosophical question: did Cherry Stern do the right thing by killing it?
I think a more basic question is, did he really
Yes.
kill it?
Good question. Good
Well,
counter
I mean,
question,
He
Rick.
didn't kill it. He made his follow-up model, the 5811. How is that killing it? He just took way too long to upgrade it. Again, what else do you want to buy that's been in production for 15 years? Like very little.
Ripley's still buying Volkswagen Jettas, so he's probably in that camp.
But they've been upgraded since then, like a bunch of
Only
times.
if it's the Wolfsburg, only the Wolfsburg spec. That thing is that is a great trim level.
That's a steal, is it? Good. So yeah, that's going to be the chat on Hitmas maybe. So welcome back those who are listening just to the podcast. You missed out on the Nautilus and the Atelier Wen, but you're not going to miss out on Ripley's random watch thought. Ripley closes off with something random. Oh, how's your fridge, by the way? Did you get stung for $1,000? Have you now got a beer fridge?
Oh no! So
Too soon.
I politely told. No, I politely told them that it was going to either be the compressor, because there's like basically only two things that can break on a refrigerator, and that because of the sound and I can hear the fan running, it's the compressor. Man, I wake up early on a Friday morning to receive the repairman. Guy is over here for 35 seconds. He opens the refrigerator, like points the temperature gun thing at it. He goes, "Oh yeah, it's cold. Yeah, it's not very cold. Yeah, it's a compressor." And then he leaves. He's like, "We have to order the part. I'll be here in April." What is this? I'm basically camping. I've got a mini fridge. I've got a mini fridge of essentials, and then I've got a cooler with like an ice pack and like some beer and stuff in it. Like it's
so.
I'm camping in my living room. Yeah, it's
excellent.
Yeah,
Send help to Ripley.
Or
Good
send
stuff.
some dry ice. That's really what I could use. Yeah.
Smoke machine, dry ice. So other than that, random watch thought for this week.
Oh God, watch thoughts. Well, why don't the Swiss have more solar powered stuff? Like I mean, we were just talking about the Breitling. Like, there's 2 years for this. Like you can get a $20 Casio on Amazon with next day shipping, and it's gonna have like solar powered something. It's not gonna have like the fancy stuff you get in the G-Shocks, but like solar power is something where it's not like this is an expensive technology. There's lots of things that have it. Garmin's have it. And I feel like for the Swiss watches, which are at a more premium level, where you want that more autonomy, you want that more hands-off experience where it does more. I just wonder what has been the reluctance for that entire nation to just really lean into the solar tech. And now we're starting to see it, but like the Le Joux Perret stuff in the tag is basically like a super version of a Citizen EcoDrive. So even then we've gotten a handshake over from the Japanese. So I'm just wondering why the Swiss aren't more on board with the sunlight-powered watches.
So if you know the answer to that question or have an opinion, then email the show podcast at blogtowatch.com or hunt out, we haven't done this for a while, hunt out everybody on their social media accounts. Ripley, where can you be found? Please tell me you don't have an underscore.
No, I have a dot. It is Ripley dot sellers.
Oh,
So I've commandeered
Welcome to the dark side.
I've taken a different character. Yeah.
Good.
Ariel, where can you be found on social media?
Ariel2Watch is my Instagram account, and you can listen to me on the Superlative podcast, this podcast, and of course read my articles on blog2watch.com.
David, we're coming to you last. Alan, where can we find you on social media?
It's just on Instagram, my first and last name, ALONBENJOSEPH.
No dots, no underscores. You can find me at Rick TikTok. And David, where can we find you?
You just have to search for an underscore anywhere on the internet. I'm the first hit.
Just enter underscore
own it.
into your
Yeah.
search. Owns the underscore. There's also a fan account for David, which has no underscore. You can go and search that out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
EBTW underscore David. Great stuff.
Sweet.
Right, well, thank you for listening in. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you will join us again in a week or so's time. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.